My name is Alyssa Monroe. I'm 35 years old. And I didn't know my relationship was already over when I walked into my boyfriend's apartment that Monday night, carrying Thai takeout in one hand and a bottle of wine in the other. We'd been together just over a year, long enough to know each other's routines, long enough to talk about the future in vague, comfortable terms, not long enough, apparently, for honesty. His name was Evan Caldwell. He was 32, worked in sales for a growing tech startup, charismatic, well-spoken, always dressed like he was on his way somewhere important, even when he wasn't. We met through mutual friends at a bar, the kind of accidental chemistry that feels effortless at first. He laughed easily, made me feel chosen, interested, seen. I'm a mid-level operations manager at a manufacturing company. I make good money, comfortable money, the kind that pays bills, builds savings, allows for travel if I plan it. Not extravagant, not flashy, stable. From the beginning, Evan liked nicer things than I did. At first, it showed up as comments. "Someday I want more than this," he'd say, gesturing at a perfectly fine restaurant. "I just don't see myself living average forever." I thought he meant ambition, growth, drive. I didn't realize he meant funding. That Monday night, he barely touched his food. He scrolled through his phone, jaw tight, energy distant. "What's wrong?" I asked. He set his phone down slowly, like he'd rehearsed the motion. "We need to talk about where this is going." My stomach tightened, not from fear, but from recognition. This wasn't a conversation. It was a presentation. "I'm listening," I said. He leaned forward. "I need to know if you're serious about me, about a future." "I am," I said honestly. "I wouldn't be here if I wasn't." He nodded, as if confirming a checkbox, then inhaled. "Good, because I need to be honest about what I'm looking for in a wife." Something in me stilled. "All right," I said carefully. "What does that mean?" He stood up, walked to the bedroom, came back with his laptop. That should have been my cue. He opened it, turned the screen toward me. I made a list. A list. Formatted. Organized. Bullet-pointed. Luxury car. BMW or Mercedes. Designer handbags. Minimum 4 per year. Weekly spa treatments. Bi-weekly vacations. Designer clothing allowance. Fine dining multiple times a week. Country club membership. Future home in a gated community. I stared at the screen, my brain trying to convert disbelief into numbers. "This lifestyle," he said calmly, "is what I deserve." I looked up at him. "Evan, this is a lot." "I know it looks like a lot," he replied, unfazed. "But this is the standard I hold myself to." "And you expect me to provide this?" He didn't hesitate. "Yes." I felt something crack, not loudly, quietly, like ice under weight. "I make $95,000 a year," I said. "This would cost more than double that." "So make more," he said. "Be ambitious. Push yourself." I laughed once, soft, disbelieving. "This isn't ambition," I said. "It's fantasy." His expression hardened. "This is why you're not wife material." The words hit harder than I expected. "Not for the lifestyle I deserve," he added. There it was, an ultimatum wrapped in entitlement. I sat back, folded my hands, let the silence stretch. He was watching for tears, for negotiation, for compromise. I gave him none. "I need some time to think," I said, standing. He smiled, convinced he'd won. "Take a few days," he said. "Decide if you're ready to step up." I left without arguing. And in my car, hands steady on the wheel, I made a decision. Not to convince him, not to change myself, but to make sure he understood exactly what he'd asked for. I didn't cry when I got home. That surprised me. I sat on the edge of my bed, still wearing my coat, replaying Evan's words in my head. Not wife material, the lifestyle I deserve. And what struck me most wasn't the insult. It was the certainty. He'd said it like a fact, like gravity, like I was supposed to accept it and adjust. By morning, the shock had hardened into something colder and far more dangerous. Clarity. I called my older brother Lucas on my drive to work. He answered on the second ring. "Morning, Lice. Everything okay?" "No," I said. "And I need your professional opinion, not your protective brother reaction." That got his attention. Lucas is a family lawyer. Divorce, prenups, asset protection. He lives in the aftermath of bad assumptions and worse expectations. I told him everything. The dinner, the spreadsheet, the ultimatum. He was quiet for a long moment when I finished. "Please tell me you're done with him," he finally said. "I am," I replied, "but I want to do something first." A pause, then a sigh. Define something. I want to show him exactly what his expectations look like in real numbers, professionally. No emotions, no arguing. Lucas laughed once, sharp, approving. That's diabolical. I love it. I also need a favor, I added. Of course you do. That prenup template you showed me last year? The aggressive one? The one you said no reasonable person would ever sign? The nuclear option? That's the one. Alyssa, he said slowly, what are you planning? Transparency, I said, the kind that doesn't blink. By Wednesday morning, my inbox held 2 documents. The first was a detailed financial analysis. Evan's so-called lifestyle broken down line by line. Annual cost, $287,000. That didn't include a house purchase, maintenance, or savings. The second was the prenup. Cold, precise, ruthless. All assets, separate. No spousal support, no shared accumulation. Each party leaves with exactly what they brought. I stared at the documents longer than I expected to. Not because I doubted myself, but because I realized something unsettling. Evan hadn't thought any of this through, not once. He'd built a fantasy and handed me the invoice. Wednesday afternoon, I texted him. Can we talk tonight? Your place? He replied almost immediately. Yes, I've been hoping you'd come around. 7:00? At 7:00 on the dot, I rang his doorbell holding a slim folder. He opened the door smiling, confident, relaxed, already victorious in his mind. Come in, he said. Can I get you anything? No, I replied. Let's sit. He barely waited before asking, So, what did you decide? I met his eyes. I thought a lot about what you said, I told him, about the lifestyle you deserve. His smile widened. And you're right, I said. You deserve honesty. I opened the folder and slid the first document across the coffee table. What's this? A professional breakdown of your wish list. He skimmed the first page, then the second. The color drained from his face slowly, like realization seeping in against his will. As you can see, I continued calmly, your lifestyle costs just under $300,000 a year. To afford that comfortably, I'd need to earn around $450,000 annually. He scoffed. So, you work toward that? Statistically, I said, I'd need 15 to 20 years, if ever. I slid the second document forward. And if we got married, I added, this would be the prenuptial agreement I'd require. He stared at it. This is insulting, he snapped. Is it? I asked. You want me to bankroll a luxury lifestyle. This protects me. I would never sign this. Then we have a problem, I said evenly, because I would never agree to your terms without it. His voice rose. You don't trust me. No, I said. I don't trust fantasies without math. Silence. Then anger. Get out, he said. I stood, leaving the documents behind. For what it's worth, I said at the door, I hope you find someone who can afford you, but I won't be auditioning for the role. He didn't stop me, and that told me everything. Thursday morning, my phone stayed quiet. Not because Evan was calm, because Evan was furious in a way that needed an audience. By lunchtime, the text started. You humiliated me. That prenup was cruel. You made me sound like some kind of gold digger. I was just being honest about what I need. I didn't answer. Not because I didn't have a response. Because I'd learned something over the last year with Evan. Replying to him was never about resolution. It was about giving him a stage. By Thursday afternoon, my friend Ryan called. Okay, he said immediately. What the hell happened? Evan is telling people you tried to manipulate him into signing some insane prenup. I leaned back in my office chair and stared at the ceiling tiles like they had patience to spare. He left out the part about the spreadsheet, I said. The what? So I told Ryan everything. The wish list, the numbers, the ultimatum. The way Evan said not wife material, like a label he could slap on my forehead and walk away. When I finished, Ryan was quiet for a beat. That's actually brilliant, he said. Ruthless, but brilliant. I'm not trying to be ruthless, I said. I'm trying to be done. Ryan exhaled. You know he's going to spin this, right? He's the kind of guy who can't lose quietly. I know, I said. And that was the problem. Evan wasn't just angry, I said no. He was angry I didn't beg. He was angry I didn't make it emotional. Because if it was emotional, he could paint me as unstable. If it was numbers, he had nowhere to hide. That night I called Lucas again. You're going to laugh, I said. Oh no, he replied, already amused. What now? I want one more conversation with Evan, I said, but not alone. Lucas paused. You mean? Yes, I said. Your friend, the financial planner. A low whistle. Alyssa, that's a level of petty I can respect. It's not petty, I corrected. It's closure, with witnesses. Lucas laughed again. Her name is Diane. She's certified, blunt, and allergic to nonsense. If anyone can cut through Evan's ego, it's her. By Friday afternoon, it was arranged. Saturday morning, I texted Evan. One last talk. For closure, I'll pick you up at 10. He responded within minutes. Fine. 10. I could picture him reading it with a smug, wounded pride. convinced this was the part where I apologized, where I admitted I'd been harsh, where I crawled back into the story he wanted. I pulled up to his building at 9:55 and waited. At 10:02, he came out. Designer sunglasses, crisp jacket, his posture straight like he'd dressed for a confrontation he planned to win. He walked to the passenger door, opened it, and froze. Because Diane was already sitting there. Mid-40s, calm expression, tablet in her lap, the kind of professional stillness that makes dramatic people feel silly. Evan blinked, like his brain couldn't process the image fast enough. "Who the hell is this?" he demanded. I kept my voice even. "This is Diane. She's a certified financial planner." His jaw tightened. "Why is she in your car?" "Because we're going to talk about reality," I said. "I'm not getting in the car." "Okay," I replied. "Then we'll talk right here." His eyes flicked around. Saturday morning. A couple walking their dog. Someone grabbing coffee. A neighbor dragging trash bins out. An audience. He swallowed irritation, then opened the back door and slid in like he was doing me a favor. "This is insane," he muttered. "No," I said quietly. "This is necessary." Diane turned slightly, offering him a polite nod. "Evan," she said, "I reviewed the lifestyle list you presented to Alyssa." "I didn't ask for a financial advisor," he snapped. Diane didn't flinch. "That's common. People don't like math when it disagrees with their feelings." His face reddened. "My expectations are not feelings." Diane tapped her tablet. "Your wish list requires approximately $24,000 per month in discretionary spending." He scoffed, but his eyes flicked to mine, searching for a crack. Diane continued. "Based on your current salary, your discretionary spending capacity is closer to $1,800 per month after taxes, rent, and basic expenses." See. Evan's mouth opened, then closed. He started. "That's a $20,200 shortfall per month," Diane said smoothly, like she was reading weather conditions, "which you explicitly stated Alyssa should cover." Evan leaned forward. "She could if she worked harder." Diane's expression remained neutral. "Alyssa earns approximately $95,000 annually. To sustainably cover your requested lifestyle while maintaining her own standard of living and saving responsibly, she would need to earn around $450,000 per year." Evan laughed sharply, but it sounded forced. "So, she should be more ambitious." "That's not ambition," I said, finally letting some steel into my voice. "That's you handing me a fantasy and calling it love." Evan glared. "You're twisting this." Diane lifted her eyes from the tablet. "Evan, this isn't personal. It's arithmetic." He went rigid. Diane continued. "If Alyssa attempted to fund this lifestyle at her current income, she'd allocate about 75% of her gross salary to your discretionary spending alone. That would eliminate emergency savings, retirement contributions, and long-term stability." "I never said she couldn't save," Evan snapped. Diane didn't raise her voice. "She can't. The numbers don't allow it." A silence fell, thick and humiliating. Outside the car window, I saw the dog walker glance over again. Not subtle. Evan noticed too. His face was burning now. "This is ridiculous," he hissed. "You set this up to embarrass me." "No," I said softly. "You embarrassed yourself when you called me not wife material because I wouldn't finance your life." He shoved the back door open. "I'm done listening to this," he spat, stepping out and slamming the door hard enough the car rocked. He stormed toward the building without looking back. Diane watched him go, then exhaled. "Think it landed?" she asked. I stared at the entrance he disappeared into. "I don't know," I said honestly, but he heard it from someone he can't dismiss as emotional. Diane gave a small smile. "For what it's worth, you dodged a bullet. I see this pattern all the time. People with champagne expectations and no plan to pay for it, and they call it love because it sounds nicer." I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clear. And sometimes, clarity is the only closure you get. 6 weeks passed. Long enough for anger to cool into narrative. Evan blocked me everywhere after the car conversation. Social media, messaging apps, even LinkedIn, which somehow felt the most on-brand. But silence doesn't mean peace when someone is determined to rewrite the story. I heard about it anyway. According to Evan, I was financially controlling. According to Evan, I'd tried to pressure him with legal documents. According to Evan, the prenup was proof I never loved him. What he didn't mention was the spreadsheet. Funny how math always disappears in emotional retellings. Most of our mutual friends didn't buy it, especially after Evan's private expectations somehow made their way through the group chat. I didn't share them. I didn't need to. Lucas later admitted, casually, unapologetically, that he'd used the list as an example during a conversation about unrealistic financial dynamics. I wasn't mad. Context matters. Apparently, Evan tried dating someone else in our circle a few weeks later. Second date. Same speech, same expectations. She didn't make it to date 3. And just like that, the pattern revealed itself without me lifting another finger. As for me, I stayed single for a while. Not because I was wounded, but because I was recalibrating. I wanted to make sure I didn't mistake chemistry for compatibility again. That I didn't confuse confidence with entitlement. Then I met Daniel. No fireworks, no grand gestures, just calm, grounded, intentional. He's a physical therapist, makes less than Evan ever did, and somehow manages to live fully within his means. On our third date, when the check came, he reached for it automatically. I stopped him. Let's split it. He smiled. That's what I was hoping you'd say. When I told him the story, the full story, he laughed once, shook his head, and said, "That's wild." Then he added something Evan never would have. "I don't want someone to fund my life. I want someone to build one with." That sentence landed harder than any apology ever could. A week later, Lucas told me something that stayed with me. He'd shown Evan's wish list, anonymized, to a few clients during consultations. 3 women recognized themselves immediately. 2 cried. One said she needed to rethink her entire approach to relationships. I ran into Evan once after that. Grocery store. Tuesday night. He was with a woman wearing designer clothes that probably cost more than my monthly rent. He looked tense. She looked bored. When he saw me, his face tightened. He pretended not to notice and steered her toward another aisle like avoidance was a strategy. I watched them go and felt nothing. No anger, no vindication, just distance. Some people will always believe love is a transaction. That partnership means one person paying and the other performing satisfaction. Evan wanted a wife who was material for his lifestyle. What he got instead was a mirror. The car conversation wasn't revenge. It was a reality check, delivered calmly, professionally, without theatrics. Whether he learned anything from it is out of my control. What I learned was everything. That my worth isn't measured in handbags or spa days. That ambition doesn't mean sacrificing stability for someone else's fantasy. That partnership means contributing, not demanding. When someone tells you they deserve better, believe them. Not because they're right, but because anyone who thinks that way will never be satisfied with what you have to offer.